I've been reviewing really good coasters. What coaster should I review next? Fine then, I'll review this roller coaster. Greetings, roller coaster fanatics, and welcome out to a Fanatic review where I get to talk about the worst of roller coasters. Thought I would review a coaster from my home park, and I want to save some of the good ones for later, so I decided I will do a not so good one, or one I will say is arguably one of the worst aerodynamics roller coasters of all time. This is gonna take a while. Look, in all honesty, this is definitely not the worst aerodynamics roller coaster. I've definitely been on a lot worse. I definitely don't think this is rough. I think this is very shaky, though, and can definitely give your neck a little bit of a stiffness. But in all honesty, I've definitely been on worse aerodynamics roller coasters. So let's get into the statistics of Anaconda. So of course, this opened at King's Dominion on March 23rd, 1991. This is interesting because usually parks usually get aerodynamics coasters earlier, but King's Dominion was one of the few that actually got one later in their later in life. So it's very interesting. So when this coaster's of course gone through a lot of color schemes. Just thing used to be black or bluish with orange supports, almost like Shockwave, and then it became this color scheme, which is actually really nice and definitely like this a lot more. So what is Anaconda themed to? It's themed to the snake. What's really interesting is it's got a little bit of like language text on it, which is very interesting, almost like you're in Africa or in the Congo section or Safari Village now. And the coaster kind of fits in with the Safari Village a little bit. It's really nice because the queue kind of goes over the lake a little bit, and you can hear lots of noises and swamp. And that's what's interesting is most of it is real, like just the normal bugs that you usually hear. It's interesting, it kind of adds to it. But other than that, there's really no theming at all to this. It's just the way it's set is actually really nice. It's over a lake, or now what it's called pond. And this coaster is really interesting because it was the first coaster that features loops to have an underwater tunnel. And that underwater tunnel actually also allows the drop to be large in the height. So the height itself is 128 feet, but the drop is 144 feet because it goes right into the tunnel. What's also very interesting is one of the few aerodynamics coasters that I know of that actually does what B&M does, which is a curved drop. So it kind of curves and then continues the drop, which is actually very interesting. It kind of makes this coaster a little bit more unique. It's also a little bit more unique because you don't see other coasters like Anaconda like this. This is a true unique style flair to it, which I actually have to praise Aero for. It's because when you usually know Aero, you usually know there's simple cookie cutter. Okay, it's going to do two loops or it's going to do one loop. It's going to do a turn in either left or right motion to go right into the double corkscrews and then do either helix or just do another turn around into it. Usually, in most aerodynamics coasters, there are a few Aero coasters that are actually very unique. I know there's Loch Ness, Vortex at Kings Island, and then, of course, Anaconda. Those are just a few that are at the top of my head that are not the cookie cutter style rides, which is very nice. This coaster goes a maximum speed of 50 miles per hour and goes a total length of 2,700 feet of track. So Anaconda has 4 inversions. It has a vertical loop, a sidewinder, and of course 2 consecutive corkscrews. It goes a total duration of 1 minute and 50 seconds. Not too bad, actually. So, Anaconda. At least we're no longer making memes about this ride. So, Anaconda is a hit or miss. Some days it can be good, and some days it's actually not too bad. This is definitely interesting. So, of course, it starts out with an aerodynamics pre-drop out of the station, or just a regular drop out of the station that leads into the lift hill. You go up the lift hill. The lift hill's pretty fast, actually. Then you go into the curved drop. There's no real drop to it. It's just really nice how you pick up speed, and it's something unique that you don't see on aerodynamics coasters. So you plunge right into the tunnel, and you come right out. What's really nice is now they have the effects again, so now water is being gushed out as you're coming out. You go right into the vertical loop and the sidewinder. Vertical loop, you definitely feel some shake, and it's just like, oh, this is what I'm expecting. But the worst part of the ride for me anyway is the Sidewinder. I do not like Sidewinders in any way. I think they are the roughest of all the inversions, and they're the most uncomfortable. And this one is one of the and this is one of the reasons. This thing is bad. Right then and there, that's where my neck gets stiff, and it is, yeah, it's really bad. So you come right off to get some nice air time, and then a turn right into the mid-course. Back then, in 2013, before 2014, the brakes used to hit a lot harder than they do now. It doesn't halt you all the way. So you keep continuing, you curve to the left, then you dip down and go to the right. That's basically like a butterfly element right there. And right as it curves, dips down to go back to the right, it gets really bumpy. I think that's where a lot of people hate the ride the most, is because right then and there you get some really nice shakiness. Now, what I mean by shakiness is you're not moving left to right. You're actually just moving forward and back, actually. Or you're just moving up and down. You're not actually moving it left to right. So, depending on your structure or body or any way, you might actually get a little bit of head banging. But for me anyway, I actually do not get head banging on this. So afterwards, we kind of bang to the right a little bit, and then going to my favorite part of the ride, the one thing that aerodynamics always does really well, are those 2 consecutive corkscrews. You get a lot of hang time, really fun. Actually, that's probably my favorite part of the ride. And then you edge out to turn to the left, and then crest up into the brakes. And the brakes hit hard. This ride is, even though it's creative, there's not a lot to it. It feels like it goes to the right really fast, which could be good for a couple of people, actually. But other than that, this is just straight up, you know, an aerodynamics roller coaster. There's nothing really unique besides the fact that Aero did their first ever curve drop that I know of. And, of course, it went underwater for 2 seconds. And, of course, there's 4 inversions, and they're not just 2 loops and 2 corkscrews. They actually have a sidewinder, which I kind of wish it wasn't on there. But this ride, besides that, there's nothing really unique or there's nothing really stand out about it. It's just your typical aerodynamics roller coaster with a couple of flares to it, which is not bad. This ride is a hit or miss for a lot of people. Like I said, you're either going to love it, or you're either going to hate it, or you're going to be in between. There are a couple of people that enjoy this coaster, but for the majority of people, I think, dislike this coaster. Me, it just depends. Some days are really nice. Some days I really could care less about this roller coaster. I'm going to give Anaconda at King's Dominion a C. So that was Anaconda. Like I said, this is a hit and miss. That's why I kind of give it that C grade, because there are some days where it's not bad, where it's a little bit above average, but then there's those days where it's really below average, so I decided to go right then and there at the middle. This ride, like, it has different, for aerodynamics just in general, this ride was a little bit more unique for them, as it had different elements. It wasn't your standard cookie cutter style aerodynamics coaster, and overall, it was not too bad, actually. So thank y'all for watching. That was my review for Anaconda at King's Dominion. If you have a roller coaster that you know that I've been on that you would like me to review, post it in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more videos like this. Thank y'all for watching, and as always, roller coaster fanatics, keep coasting.